Hello troopers! Federation Command has sent me to tell you how garbage our stats are when it comes to the new Horde mode. Legitimately, this game is hard as hell, and it's time I step in. That's right, I'm like the Johnny Rico of Starship. Nay, I'm the Private Zim of Horde mode. So stick with me and I'll hopefully give you some tips and tricks to consistently get to Wave 10 and hopefully win.
Put your hand on that wall!
I'm going to structure this video in a way where we first cover maps, bases, bugs, and finally end it with weapon combos. Timestamps down below. Tip number 1, maps. The first tip of the video comes down to absolutely nothing that you can control. So far, we have 3 map spawns with multiple different locations inside each of them. Now it comes down to luck and how many times you're willing to keep playing, but 2 of these maps have a significantly higher chance of success. The odd man out is the newest map, Fuel Depot. Don't get me wrong, Fuel Depot is without a doubt my favorite map, but its HQ spawns are generally the worst for one reason. That reason being the HQ has no natural environment covering the actual HQ. By this I mean the destroyed buildings that are out and about in the other maps. This ups the difficulty by letting Grenadier bugs land consecutive shots on the HQ for absolutely free. Even though the targeting of the bugs is sometimes off, it's very easy for them to absolutely annihilate the base. Fuel Depot spawns are all out in the open, with the worst spawn being in the middle of a bridge. Central Garrison is the easiest, as most of the time the HQ will be snug up against a wall, or if you are extremely lucky, in the underground tunnel. The matches I've played in the underground tunnel usually have no Grenadier spawning in, which is, man, it's just downright delicious. Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do about this, but don't be afraid to experiment. It's like the American Pie movie of bug killing. Tip number 2, the bunker strat. So you might have heard this in team chat or on the Discord, but the bunker strategy is when you place bunkers around the HQ or the Ark. This works great in other game modes, but is the equivalent of drinking dirty creek water in Horde. It's just overall a bad time. The main reason bunker strat doesn't work in Horde is because you can't respawn and are forced to put up weaker walls in choke points instead of the big beefy bunkers. This means the bugs will brute force your base faster than the Xbox 360 DDoS attack on Christmas Day a few years back. You're getting so much more value out of your bunkers when they are holding the line versus doing nothing around the HQ as well, as they can take multiple Grenadier and Tiger hits before finally falling. Your bunkers need to be nestled in choke points that force the bugs to build up in one location, making your weapons, explosives, and other utilities so much more effective. Try to also put the bunkers where they have natural cover so that the Grenadier shots aren't hitting them, so that they can have more time holding back the bugs who attack from melee. This goes back to the map, but if you can make your bunkers safer, then do so. Tip number 3, Plan B. Build your base with a Plan B in mind. Eventually, no matter what you do, this base is going down. There's nothing you can do to stop it, especially in like Wave 9 and 10. That's why you need to think ahead. For example, this bunker is going to go down, so what if we put a manned HMG emplacement here? That way when the bunker falls, I can tactically run away to the turret and rain holy hellfire on this huge built-up wave. It doesn't necessarily have to be the turrets either. You could also add in some shock fences or behind a bunker to give you more breathing room, or add in another bunker. Nothing is stopping you but you. Definitely would recommend the turrets, as the best way to stop the enemy is to just kill them. Tip number 4, bug spawns. This is probably the most important tip in the video, so pay attention. The bugs always spawn in specific locations. As the wave progresses, they will spread out, but generally there are 2 to 3 areas the bugs will appear from. It's important to have the bulk of your countermeasures in these locations. Thankfully, by Wave 2 and latest by Wave 3, you'll have like a really good read on where they're going to come from. Keep in mind that these locations sometimes vary in bug flow, so one round it'll be non-stop balls to the walls action movie goodness, and then later on it'll be a manageable amount. This usually means that the bulk of the wave is probably somewhere else, but we will talk more about rotations later on. Tip number 5, countermeasures. While it might not seem like there's a lot to do besides repairing the base during the time in between waves, there is actually quite a bit to do. During the 30 seconds you have, make sure to plant your utilities in good locations. Scan and shock beacons should be near your garrison. For the scan beacons, it's okay to put them in the middle of where the bugs are spawning. This will give you scans on gunners or grenadiers, which is super useful for taking them out sooner. I'd recommend not using all of your scan beacons before the wave, so that way if the base is falling, you can quickly throw down your last one in the breach, hopefully helping your team push them back a little bit. Obviously, shock beacons and explosives need to be near the base, with the explosives getting as many bugs as possible. Personally, I think explosive utilities are a bit of a waste. I mean, if you take a look at all the stats over the games, you'll notice that the nukes, thermocharges, and proximity mines are extremely low. This isn't a lack of me trying either, it's just that they are weak compared to the support you get out of other utilities. Try to keep your ammo fabricators, medical beacons, and stations in places off of walls and bunkers. This is due to the fact that whatever they are placed on gets destroyed, so the utilities also go away, so it's like, damn, that kind of sucks. If you're feeling brave, don't be afraid to place a manned HMG on the bunkers, especially the bunkers facing the bug spawns. Once the bugs spawn in, you'll be able to focus fire like elite bugs first before the wave hits your defenses. I believe you have like either 33 or 35 seconds of sustained fire, which doesn't sound like a lot, but actually gives you plenty of time. Just make sure you primarily fire on bugs in this order. First off, Grenadiers, Tigers, Gunners, and finally Warriors. Focusing them in this order, and you should have an easier time. Plus the HMG just makes Tigers like absolutely mincemeat, so when they get close, let them know the full might of the Federation. Tip number 6, secondary objectives. Now while you're playing, you'll notice secondary objectives spawn in during the waves, usually every third wave, but I've seen them spawn in sooner than that before. These give you extra utilities such as shock beacons, thermocharges, and so on. They also give you rocket launchers and special repair canisters for your base. Basically, you'll want to get these objectives every time they show up. The biggest downside is that they require you to leave your base, as well as spawning in more bugs to go against. Thankfully, the bugs that come in with the secondary objectives don't have the additional modifiers that later round Horde bugs do. However, the best tip I can give you is to focus these objectives when you have around 20 bugs left in a wave. This gives your base some breathing room and also gives you the time to run back to base, hopefully during the 30-second downtime after completing the objective. The absolute worst thing you can do is leave base while the Horde is still huge, or if you complete the objective during the downtime, you'll be stuck outside of the base. So basically, like, if you started the objective right as the wave ended. That's what I'm talking about here. Once you die, you've effectively lost all the bonus equipment you just got, so, try to keep that in mind and don't play stupid. Tip number 7, weapon combos. This is going to be super quick and mostly done in the loadout menu, but I've decided to rely on the nifty player stats to see what does and doesn't work, especially when it comes to bug extermination. Without a doubt, the biggest lead in my stats is the chem grenade. If you're an operator or a hunter, I highly recommend taking the chem grenade with scan beacons. Anything scan takes additional damage, and the damage over time effect racks up on everything within the radius. So, simply put, throw down a beacon, get a shit ton of bugs scanned, and then throw a grenade. After that, profit. Bastions have it pretty easy with the shock beacon and napalm combo. Napalm still does damage, although its biggest problem is the area of denial. It forces bugs to spread out. So a really good idea is to get a bunch of shock beacons down and let quite a few bugs be stunned from them. After that, throw down your napalm and start shooting with the saw. The sheer amount of stagger and stun you're putting down mixed with a full area locked down also allows you plenty of breathing room for your team. It's rather juicy. Tip number 8, rotations. For the final tip, we have a brain dead one. I always have one in my tip videos, and this is it. Just make sure to rotate around the base, communicate with your team, and assist where you can. For example, you might be noticing that this wave is extremely light on the side you've been building. That doesn't mean that you should stay and just wait in that one spot. Take a look around your base and see where the bugs are. Maybe throw down a chem or a napalm before you leave, and then go assist the other sector. This will help take the pressure off, and once you've got it managed, you can head back to your own little hidey hole corner, whatever the hell. It's pretty common sense shit, but hey, sometimes you might just need to hear it. And that's all for this video. I'm so far absolutely loving Starship Troopers Extermination. I'm like rotating between it and Baldur's Gate 3, so I'm definitely satisfied with my gaming right now. As always, thanks for watching. We've got another Starship big news video coming after this one, so stay tuned.